You own a piece of paradise, waterfront property, a lifetime of savings poured into a home, and the jewel of your existence, your boat, is sitting right where it belongs, on your own darn dock. Sounds perfect, right? Wrong. Because I, like so many of you, live under the tyranny of the Homeowners Association. And the moment they sent me that certified letter demanding I remove my boat from my property is the moment they signed the legal death warrant for their entire exclusive multi-million-dollar marina. You heard me. They wanted my boat gone. I took their home marina. And you are not going to believe the sheer, delicious, absolute chaos that followed. Stick around, because this is the story of how a petty power trip turned into the most satisfying legal victory of my life. Let's rewind. My name is Alex, and my home sits on a beautiful, quiet little bay. I bought this place specifically because it had a private dock, big enough for my pride and joy, the Sea Dragon, a 38-foot custom fishing vessel. It's not just a boat, it's my escape, my therapy, the place where I make my living sometimes. The HOA in this community, the Coastal Shores Conservancy, is notorious. They're a clique of retirees, led by a woman I'll call Barbara, who seems to believe her sole purpose in life is to enforce aesthetic conformity with the zeal of a medieval cleric. But up until this point, I'd mostly flown under the radar. My boat was clean, my yard was tidy, there was no problem. Until the letter arrived. Host picks up a prop letter and reads a snippet, his voice dripping with sarcasm. It started out innocently enough. Certified mail, the kind that makes your stomach drop. Subject, immediate compliance notice, vessel storage violation. The core of their argument? My boat, being over 30 feet, was in violation of the unwritten spirit of the rules covenant for private dock usage. Unwritten. The official, recorded documents stated nothing of the sort. I read the covenants cover to cover 3 times. My dock was part of my deeded property. My boat fit perfectly. The only thing this was a violation of was Barbara's sensitive little eyesight. I was furious, yes, but mostly just baffled by the audacity. They were essentially telling me, we don't like big boats, so get rid of yours. Close-up of Alex shaking his head, rubbing his temples, conveying deep stress. This wasn't just a nuisance. It was a threat. Boat slips at the nearest commercial marina would cost me an arm and a leg, thousands of dollars a year. And moving the Sea Dragon would mean I could never just walk out my back door and jump aboard. It would destroy the whole reason I bought this house. I remember sitting there, late at night, staring at that letter, feeling this cold, heavy weight of injustice settle over me. That's when the fight changed. It stopped being about the boat and started being about principle. I decided then and there I wasn't going to fight them. I was going to find the legal Achilles heel of the entire organization. I was going to make them regret the day they learned my name. Cut to a shot of a laptop screen with legal documents and highlighted text. Host pacing, energized, revealing his plan. I spent the next 3 weeks doing nothing but digging. I was buried in decades of HOA meeting minutes, original plat maps, and the community's foundational documents. I was looking for the flaw, the loophole, the one thing they had overlooked in their smug pursuit of petty power. And I found it. It was hidden in the dusty, barely legible appendix of the 1985 Development Agreement. A single critical clause concerning the community's centerpiece, the main communal marina. The one with all the other big, expensive boats. The one where Barbara's husband kept his yacht. Host leans into the camera, conspiratorial and excited. The marina, it turns out, wasn't actually owned by the HOA. It was built on what's called a non-exclusive perpetual access and utility easement, granted by the original developer to the homeowners for a specific purpose. Access to the open water for personal recreational use. The key words? Perpetual access and utility easement. Now, most people read easement and think pathway, but I had a brilliant property lawyer, a friend I've known since college. She read it and her eyes went wide. She pointed out a stunning detail. The language was so broad and so poorly written that it didn't just grant the HOA the right to use the land, it gave every single homeowner the right to reasonably utilize the easement itself for the stated purpose of access. And here's the kicker. I owned a home, and I was being denied access to the water for my personal recreational use by the HOA's arbitrary rules. Their own rule book was in direct conflict with the founding document of the community. Transition to a shot of a measuring tape, stakes, and the faint outline of a fence being planned on a diagram. This wasn't about my dock anymore. This was about their entire operation. The Marina, the beautiful, exclusive, multi-slip marina that served as the centerpiece of their community and the foundation of their power, was built entirely on this flimsy easement. My lawyer told me, Alex, they violated the terms of the easement by creating arbitrary restrictions that deny access to an owner. If they won't let you use your own private dock for your boat, then you can assert your right to exclusive control over a portion of that easement to ensure your access is not denied. And the best way to do that? A fence.
I hired a crew. They worked fast. We staked out a generous but legally defensible portion of the easement. Not the whole thing, but enough to effectively cut off vehicle access and most of the launch ramp to the main marina. I was simultaneously terrified and exhilarated. My hands were shaking as I drove the first stake into the ground. It felt like an act of war. Within 48 hours, the fence was up. It was ugly, industrial grade, and secured with heavy padlocks. I didn't just put up a fence, I put up a monument to the HOA's self-inflicted wounds. And the best part? It was legally mine to do. The call started almost immediately. Not even an hour after the last section was bolted down. My phone was ringing off the hook. Barbara herself left me 3 voicemails, each one escalating from confused rage to genuine high-pitched panic. They couldn't launch their boats, they couldn't refuel their yachts, they couldn't even access their dry storage lockers. Their million-dollar toys were trapped, all because they demanded I move my boat. The irony was a delicious, overwhelming sensation. Barbara and her cronies showed up at my property, red-faced, demanding I open the fence. They threatened police action, lawsuits, and everything in between. I just stood there, calm, holding a copy of the original 1985 document highlighted and annotated. I remember looking Barbara right in the eyes and saying, "You sent me a letter demanding I remove my boat, thereby denying my perpetual access rights. I am now exercising my perpetual access rights to this easement in a manner that can never be arbitrarily denied again. This fence is my legal fortification against your power trips. If you want it down, drop the demand about my boat, pay for all my legal fees, and amend your covenants to explicitly protect my right to use my dock. Until then, you can admire the view from the other side of that chain link." The look on her face was priceless. It was pure, unadulterated defeat. She had never been told no in a way that cost her so much. The legal battle lasted another 3 months, but the HOA's position was completely unsustainable. They couldn't argue against their own founding documents. Their lawyers saw the writing on the wall. The homeowners who were paying massive fees for their marina slips were absolutely livid and starting to organize against the board. Barbara and her clique were facing a revolt. Eventually, a settlement offer came in. It was everything I had asked for and more. They dropped all violation claims against me, paid my legal fees, and, most importantly, they rewrote the dock covenants to explicitly state that the size of my vessel was not a factor. They even included a clause that explicitly stated no homeowner shall be arbitrarily denied access to the water for personal recreational use. I had the crew out the next day. The fence came down just as fast as it went up. The neighbors, even the ones that had been standoffish, came by and thanked me. I didn't set out to wage war. I just wanted to keep my boat. But what I learned is that power, especially petty power, absolutely crumbles when confronted with meticulous research and a willingness to fight for what's yours. Don't ever let a bully, especially one with a clipboard and an overinflated sense of authority, dictate your life. Sometimes you have to be willing to take a hammer to the foundation of their kingdom to protect your little corner of the world. Now, if you'll excuse me, the sea dragon is calling. I've got fishing to do. Let me know in the comments what's the craziest thing your HOA has ever tried to pull. I want to read all your stories of injustice.